Hey everybody, not locked in my closet tonight. I've actually got a different lighting system that I'm trying. You can see my ring light reflected in my glasses. It's real cute. Anyways, I was hoping maybe this would help you see some of the illustrations better. Anyways, we'll see. Maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. So we were on book 7, and when we met, um, the people when he washed up on land, Odysseus. Hold on, let me start that over. The last thing we read was that Odysseus got away from Calypso, and there was a like the raft that she had him build, and um, everything was going fine until Poseidon figured out that he was actually going to get free. Since Poseidon was still so angry at him, obviously he wasn't super into that. And then that's when the storm got rough. That's when he met the mermaid, and she helped him get to land, which was great. So he was directed to go to the king of that land, King Alcinous. Okay, so that was where we left him. Was he was about to walk into the city, and he said a prayer, and he was like, "Hey, whoever's up there, if anybody can help me, please, help me," basically. And then magically, this little girl appears, and she's holding this jar, urn thing. It's like really big thing. Um, so that's where we left off. So, oh, and she said, "Come here." So he's going with her. Oh, yeah, I think that's a lot better. So he's going with her. They're walking into town, and she brings him here, and then poof, she's gone. So helpful, maybe. She didn't actually speak to him, so we don't know who this was. But it might be Athena. She's helped Telemachus out a lot, so it might be. All right, so here he is walking into the palace, and he goes by, and you can see he's kind of freaked out by this. It's these robo dogs, but like their heads move and stuff, like they're animated, like they're robotic guard dogs, which this would have been a really big deal at this point. This would have been like super advanced technology. Okay. So he walks in, and remember who he's supposed to talk to? Not the king, the queen. So he walks in, he sees the fires going. They're making the offerings in the fire. Like I said, they would burn food or what have you, so that the smoke would go up to the gods. And so he walks straight up to the queen here. This is her working on a loom, like we talked about with Penelope. All right, and he bows, kind of like kneels before her. Oh, and she's very surprised by this, and it looks like all of her maid servants around her are very surprised by this as well. "Noble queen, hear my plea. Show your great generosity. A more piteous man you have never seen than I, who kneel before you now. Years of troubles, countless heartaches I've endured upon the sea, and now I'm wrecked upon your shore. All I want is to see my homeland again, my family, and my high roofed hall." Okay, so again, he's trying to be like, "Hey, look, I've had so much trouble. I've been through so much already. All I need is help getting home. Please, please, please have mercy." But she's like, "What?" Okay, so she appears to be listening to him, but now the king is sort of surprised. And, okay, so then she's going to answer him. "Rise, stranger. You speak well. Zeus watches over all beggars, and to honor him, we will grant your plea." Okay, so far so good. "Fear no more. Our ships and our sailors have no equal among mortals, and they will speed you safely home across the sea." Cool. Oh, and then here's the king. "Stranger, it's true. I will command a ship to be ready tomorrow, but first, enjoy our hospitality. Join our feast, and when you have eaten, you can tell us your name and where you come from. And where you got those clothes, for I'd swear I myself wove that cloak for my son. Uh-oh. So the queen is like, pretty sure you stole those clothes. Okay. So Odysseus is going to try and explain himself. Oh, great king and queen, you are matchless in your generosity, beauty, and wisdom. May the gods bless you always with health, long life, and happiness for all your children, especially your lovely daughter, Nausicaa. It was she I first encountered on this island, and when I begged her for help, she gave me these clothes and helped me find your palace. She would have brought me here herself, but the wise girl knew that tongues would wag. Remember, they did she didn't want anybody thinking that she was doing anything um uh like, trying to date Odysseus or them being like boyfriend girlfriend or anything weird like that. She was like, just walk in separately from me so that nobody thinks anything weird. Okay. Um, as for the rest of my story, it is long and weary, painful for me even to think of. Friends, our guest is tired. This is the king. Let's go to bed. Tomorrow we will ready a ship and hold a farewell feast for him with games, dancing, and gifts. I will have my servants prepare a bed for you. Okay, cool. So, um, they're like, hey, we're gonna do this right. You're gonna have a good night's sleep. We'll actually get a bed made for you. We'll have the servants come and help you get undressed and everything that's supposed to happen for a noble person. They did not a lot of times dress or undress themselves. They had people helping them with everything. Um, One of the perks, I guess, of being a noble. I don't know. I think I would just rather change my own clothes. I'd be like, y'all can bring me food and stuff, but like, I got the clothes changing. Unless it was like really complicated. Like I couldn't reach like a tie it up kind of thing, like a lacing kind of thing. Some of the medieval dresses and corsets and things like that, they had to have another person. But just like a tunic, I'd be like, y'all, I got this. I don't need help. Thanks. But anyways, so he actually gets to sleep in like a bed because remember the night before, what was he sleeping in? A pile of leaves. So this is a major improvement, and this is I think just showing the whole like palace and like the land around just at nighttime, and then look now book 8 is games. Like we're already to book 8. Okay, so we've got lots of ships, lots of people coming in and out of the city here. Let's see if I can tilt just a little bit more. I know you can't see the really details, but I'll get closer in when there's something to see. Oh no, I forgot how to say it again. Pha- Phaeacians? 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 Isn't that what I decided on? I don't remember. This stranger was wrecked on our island and came to me seeking help. We will take him home, but first, let's show him that we excel not only in shipbuilding, but also in sports, games, dancing, and celebrating. Okay, so they've got all kinds of stuff going on. Okay, they've got foot races. Yeah, you can see that. This guy throwing a javelin. These two guys are wrestling. The reason that I'm pointing these specifically out to you is because when we go back to that page about the Olympic Games, this is the same type of thing that they ended up doing in the Olympic Games. So this was a very common pastime when people got together in ancient Greece, in a big group like this. They'd be like, well, what do we want to do? Oh, well, we want to throw some javelins. We want to throw some discuses. Discuses. We want to do like a wrestling match and see who goes out of the circle first and stuff like that. So this was common. All right, and so look, he's like sitting with the king. Everybody's clapping, having a. I'm trying to get the shine off of it. Well, that's worse. Everybody's clapping, having a good time. Okay, then some guys walked up to him. Friend, oh, I think they're talking to Odysseus. Friend, you look like a sporting man. Look at those thighs, those hands. So they're like, you've got really muscular, strong looking hands and legs. And, come on. Would you care to join in? Try your strength? So these young guys, and remember Odysseus is pretty old at this point. So these young guys are like, "Oh, you look like you're pretty strong. You look like a sporting man." They may not actually have expected him to say yes or to actually be capable. But they were like, "Hey, you look strong. You look like you have strong muscles, and like why don't you join in with some of these because they're really athletic games?" Uh, and he says, "No, I'd best leave it to you, young pups." Oh, but then they make a mistake. So this guy asked him to come be part of the games. This guy says, "Laudamus, I see we were mistaken. He's probably a merchant, not used to carrying his own goods." So basically, they're saying, "Oh, well, maybe he isn't that strong after all." Okay, so then Odysseus, his face, like, look at that. He's like, no, you didn't. And so he stands up. "Those are foolish words, my friend. A man may look like nothing much, but be gifted by the gods in song or strategy. Who knows? As for me," and he doesn't finish that sentence. He goes over to the table where they have the different round throwing stones that they did, the disc of discus, um, and yeets it. Well, and it says "were," but he yeets it off into the distance, and it goes farther than anybody else's. And like they're like, "What?" I mean, like he was like, "You should not have doubted me. Like I was trying to be, um, kind, and like you guys looked like you were having fun, and I was like, no, I'll just leave it to you. But you should not have insulted me, basically." Um, and I'll throw another just as far or farther if you like. For that matter, if anyone here cares to test his strength in wrestling or boxing, I'll knock him down. Odysseus is talking some serious trash here. Oh, but then the king steps in. "Peace now. Rest easy, stranger. I don't blame you for your anger. Uri- Uri- Euryalus spoke like a fool, and you've shown him up. It's time to put aside these contests and show you what else we're famous for: dancing." All right, so we've got um the people have come in now for the foot race. So then he signals that the music should start, and then now they're all dancing, and like they have these matching like twirly skirts and stuff. Like they have a whole thing, and the music's playing. So pretty cool, good part of the party. And then, and if you look, they're even doing like lifting the girls and like doing leaps through the air and stuff. So it's not just like square dancing where it's like swing your partner round and round. It's like actually, pretty complicated and pretty athletic in and of itself. So, it's impressive stuff. Okay, so Odysseus says, "King Alcinous, you bragged of your young men's dancing, and you were right to do so. They are magnificent." The king says, "Stranger, your manners are godlike. Come, princes and nobles, let's send our new friend home with rich gifts to amaze his countrymen. Bring them to my hall, and we'll have a farewell feast." Euryalus, you should apologize and give him a gift too. That's the guy that said, hey, he's nothing much. "I was wrong to taunt you, stranger, and I'm sorry. Please accept my apology and take this sword of bronze and silver with an ivory sheath to remember my friendship." That is a really bronze and silver and an ivory sheath. That's a really expensive piece of weaponry. So, like, that's a very um, not just an expensive gift, but like it means a lot for it to be given something of that much value. Um, "Well spoken, Euryalus. I return your friendship and wish the gods' blessings on you. May you never have need for this sword." So, Odysseus, even though, he was kind of angry a minute ago, he's telling him, like, I hope you don't ever see war. I hope you never have a need. All right, so then everybody's walking in. We're having the feast. We're walking in past the robo dogs again. We're having a feast, and this guy has what looks to be, come on, shine. Okay, so he has here what looks to be a lyre, Lyre. So it's like a small harp, and I can't read what he's saying because it's in pictures, but it looks like he's playing his instrument and he's singing a song about an adventure that some hero has gone on. So it's like someone telling the story of the Odyssey. He's singing and telling that story, and to amuse everybody who's at the feast. Um, okay, so then Odysseus says, "Here, take this to the bard. A bard's gift. The bard is the guy with the lyre. Again, Lyre, not liar like someone who's not telling the truth. Liar, different thing. Lyre is the instrument. A bard's gift comes from the gods, and we should honor it. So I think he's sending him a portion of his meal. Is I think that's what he's sending over there. Demodocus, your skill is divine. So he's talking to the bard. The bard must be Demodocus. Your skill is divine. When you have eaten your fill, oh yeah, so he did send him food. I pray you, sing for us again. Okay, so then and I'm not 100% certain, but Demodocus may be blind. He doesn't have pupils drawn in. He doesn't seem to be looking at anything. He may be blind. Okay, so he sends the food over and he's like, sing again, sing again. You're doing a really good job. But then, this time when he sings, look, the Trojan horse and warriors and stuff like that. So he's singing about the siege of Troy, which obviously really upsets Odysseus. He starts putting his head down. He's really upset because that was a big deal. Lots of people were lost. And the king stands up and says, "Stop, stop. It seems this song brings grief to our guest. Tell me now, friend, and hold nothing back. What is your name?" Oh, yeah. They haven't even had the talk about who he even is yet, so they didn't know. "What is your name? Where do you come from? Why do you weep at these songs of Troy? Did you lose comrades there?" "Alcinous," this is Odysseus now. "Alcinous, it pains me to tell my story, but it seems you must pry into fire. Let me try again to read the actual words. But it seems you must pry into it, intensify my grief. Where shall I start? For the account of my troubles is long. I suppose I should begin by telling you my name. I am Odysseus, Laertes' son. The whole world knows of my stratagems, and my fame has risen to the heavens. My home is under the clear skies of Ithaca. Now, I will tell you of the misfortunes that Zeus has sent me during my long voyage home from Troy." Again, remember, he's still trying to get home from that battle. Okay? Like, he's been stranded and stuck on Calypso's island for 7 years and all that business. He's been trying to get home all that time. These are really good, by the way. Apple cinnamon, whatever. Miss Jessica sent some to me, and they're really tasty. We're already in book 9. I'm going fast now. Okay. So, book 9 says Odysseus' story begins. So he's actually going to tell the king and the people sitting around him, he's actually going to tell them what happened. So, "The same wind that launched me from the beaches of windy Ilium after Troy's fall blew my fleet of ships to the land of the Ciconis? Cic, cic, si, Sicon. I have a dictionary. Hold on. Let me see if it's in here. Cicones, I think. Yeah, it's not in here, but based on the other pronunciations, Cicones. We sacked their rich city for plunder, dividing the riches so each man had his proper share. Okay, so Troy fell. The wind blows them over to the land of the Cicones. We sacked that city, took their stuff, divided it up equally. Everybody got what their share was. Then I commanded the men to board our ships and sail for home. But they resisted. They wanted to stay and drink from the great casks of wine, gorge themselves on plundered delicacies. Okay, so they've just been through not only the Battle of Troy, but also they've taken over the city. And so a cask of wine is like a giant barrel that you age wine in. So they've come here and there's plenty of food and there's plenty of drink. And so they're like, no, we don't want to go straight home. We want to stay here and eat for a while. We've just been through lots of battles. So you can see the fires behind the city walls, kind of, and all their ships and stuff. And so here he is, younger, and he's trying to tell them, look, we need to go. And they're like, no, we don't. While I argued with them and they loitered, ignoring me, those Cicones who had escaped the city went quickly to their neighbors and gathered up an army to take revenge on us. Yeah, you shouldn't just loiter somewhere where you took over their city, because they might do exactly that. Go get reinforcements, some sort of allies, and come back and kick you out. They attacked with a force so numerous, they were like the leaves in autumn. That's a lot of people. They drove us back to our ships, and I feared we might meet our end there. But we held them off long enough to launch our fleet and escape, though we lost 6 men from each ship's crew. So, another big battle here. We've got chariots, we've got arrows and javelins flying, we've got people on the ground with shields. I mean, just a mess. Okay? We mourned the loss of our comrades, but we made good speed and would have reached Ithaca soon enough, except that a north wind, stirred up by Zeus, pushed us off course, and we found ourselves in unknown waters. So, something they did put them on the wrong side of Zeus, who then sent them a wind that pushed them way off course, and to the point where they didn't even know where they were. We sighted land and found a good harbor with fresh water. I sent a group of men out to see if any sort of people inhabited this sunny shore. Right? I mean, that's the first thing you should do, is you find land, and then you need to see if there's any people there that could maybe help you or whatever. Ooh, yeah. But they didn't come back. You see, this was the land of the lotus eaters. They made my men friendly offers of the fruit from the lotus plant, which made them forget all their cares, forget their homes too, and want nothing more than to stay and enjoy the blissful euphoria this plant bestows. So, yeah, so when they eat from that plant, I wonder if lotus eaters is in here. When they eat from the plant, they basically it's like all the things that would have been um important to them, all of the things that they would be like, yeah, I need to get home and see my family, I need to this, I need to that, blah blah blah. All of that just kind of left their mind, and the only thing that they could think of is just, I just want to stay here forever and just eat this fruit. um I don't know. I don't know that it's in here. Ha, okay. 189. um Here we go. Okay, so he sent 3 of his men in to discover who the inhabitants were. These men, on coming among the lotus eaters, were kindly entertained by them and were given some of their own food, the lotus plant, to eat. The effect of this food was such that those who partook of it lost all thoughts of home and wished to remain in that country. It was by main force that Odysseus dragged these men away, and he was even obliged to tie them under the benches of the ships. So, Ulysses and Odysseus are the same person here, and this is another book I'm a little bit obsessed. Um, so, uh, it's basically like um that feeling like when you finally get to relax and just lay in the bed, and like all the tension melts away and you're just like, oh, I could just stay here forever. You get in a really comfy position, but it was something that was brought on by the food they were eating. So every time they ate the food, they were just like, no, I just want to stay here forever. And in this picture here, um, this guy, he looks kind of sick. Like he looks like maybe he's actually starving. Like he's only eating the lotus plants and he's not eating any like real good food. And so maybe he's staying there until he dies almost, you know? Okay. Okay. When I saw what had happened, I was dismayed, and I had to drag them forcibly back to the ships, ordering my other men to tie them beneath the benches and row quickly away, because he knew that the only way to save them from this fate, from them wasting away on only lotus flowers, um, was to literally kidnap them back and tie them down so they didn't try to go back to the lotus eaters and um like get out of there. Like he's like, I know I have to save these guys. Okay. So as we sailed farther into unknown seas, a fog descended, and for a time we could see nothing. Suddenly our ships ran up on a sandy beach. We found that we had sailed into a calm harbor, and we rested there thankfully for the night. Okay, but they can't see because there's the fog. So they're like, okay, the water is calm. We think this is a good place to rest. But the fog is really thick. They can't see very well until the next morning. In the morning, we saw that we were on a small but lush island with wild goats jumping among the rocks and a fresh stream running down the hill. We had soon brought down enough game for a fine feast, accompanied by the wine we had taken from the Cicones. As we ate, we eyed the rocky shore that stood across a narrow channel from us and saw cooking fires and other signs of habitation. So the shore where they're on, They look across basically a river um, flowing between, and on the other side, they can see that people have been living there because there's cooking fires and probably like some sort of makeshift dwelling. Um, and so they're like, okay, I determined to go and see what sort of people lived there and ordered my ship readied while the rest of the fleet stayed securely in the harbor. So he learned this time, he's like, I'm not going to send my men. I'm going to go and figure it out myself and just take some men with me. Like, instead of having to go in and uh, rescue them after the fact, I'm going to go in. I'm the leader and I'm going to take some men with me. As we approached, we saw a great cave near the shore with sheep pens surrounding it. Oh, this is part of the story I told you already. Something made me uneasy, so I picked 12 of my best fighters, armed myself well, and by some inspiration, brought with me a cask of our best and strongest wine. Again, a cask is like a whole, like a barrel. Okay, so he's like, spidey sense kind of goes off, his intuition goes off, and he's like, I need 12 fighters, everybody armed, and a giant thing of wine. Sounds a little random, but that was how he felt he could best be prepared. We found the cave deserted and quickly explored it. So nobody's there, nobody's home. It was huge inside. Part of it was divided into pens, which were filled with lambs and kids. So lambs being baby sheep, and kids being baby goats, not children. There was a great fire pit, meaning like a very large fire pit, and an array of pails and baskets for making cheese. Okay, so goats produce milk. It's used in soaps and lotions. Some people actually drink it. I haven't. But you can make goat milk cheese, you know. So this is clearly someone who's raising these animals and also, uh, using the goat milk to make cheese. This is clearly the place where someone's living that's, like tending to these animals. Some of my men wanted to steal the fine cheeses and return swiftly to the ship. We saw how well that worked the first time, right? But I was curious to meet the owner of of this cave, see if he would offer his hospitality. It would have been better if I had listened to them. Oops. Soon enough, we saw him. He returned to the cave, herding a flock of fat sheep and rams. When he had them inside, he picked up a massive stone slab that was lying by the entrance and slid it easily across the opening. His strength and bulk terrified us, so that we cringed in the shadows as one by one he milked his fat ewes, curdling some of the milk for cheese and leaving two great pails to drink from. So a ewe is a female sheep. So I guess he was milking the goats and the sheep. When he had put all the sheep in their pens, each suckling under its dam, I don't know what that means, he lit a fire and suddenly spied us. And look who is the owner of the cave. None other than Polyphemus. And so he's taking care of the sheep and the goats. And he's doing all of this. But now, again, he slid a huge rock in front of the opening of the cave. And now Odysseus and his 12 men are stuck. Uh-oh. So that he sees them. What? Strangers? Who might you be, little men, and what are you doing in my cave? So Odysseus tries to save the situation. Sir, we are travelers from afar who chanced upon your shore. Pardon me, guys. I'm so sorry. who chanced upon your shore and found your cave, we humbly beg your hospitality. Remember that guests are under the protection of Zeus. Zeus? Ha! We Cyclopes do not fear the gods. What ship brought you here? Where is it anchored? Are there more of you? Um, and so Odysseus is like, oh no, he's going to go try and look for everybody else that I left behind. So he goes, Sir, our ship was splintered upon the rocks and we swam ashore. The rest of our comrades drowned in the icy waves. Trying to be like, no, there's nobody else to look for. It's fine, you know? So then, bad news, Polyphemus grabs one of the guys and, like, smashes him into a rock. Like, picks him up, looks at him, and smashes him into a rock. Not going well. Oh, and then eats him. Chomping down. Good times. So, and everybody else is obviously freaking out because they're like, what is happening? Because remember, Polyphemus is so big compared to the rest of them. After devouring 2 of my men, the Cyclops lay down to sleep. He did not fear us, for even if we could kill him, we could not possibly move that giant stone, the one to get out of the cave. We were trapped. In the morning, the Cyclops killed 2 more men for his breakfast. So where there were 12, now there are 8, plus Odysseus. Then he drove his sheep outside and replaced the stone across the entrance as easily as a man might cap a quiver of arrows. The quiver is the thing that the arrows are carried on in the back. So they're saying that he put the stone in front of the door as easily as you might be like, bloop, and put a top on the quiver of arrows. I racked my brain for a plan. So this is Odysseus. I racked my brain for a plan that would let us escape alive from the clutches of that brute, and this is what seemed best to me. There was a massive staff of green wood lying in the cave, and I whittled this down to a sharp point and hid it in the back part of the cave. I picked 4 of my strongest men to help me wield it when the time came. Once again, I had to stand by and watch as he killed 2 more of my men to make his dinner. Now we're down to 6. When he had devoured them, I approached him. Here, have some wine, monster. I brought it as a gift, though that means nothing to you. I'll wager it's finer than anything you have here. And so Odysseus has this, like, giant bowl, like he's carrying it with both hands, and Polyphemus grabs it with, like, 2 fingers. And he gulps it down. He says, give me more, stranger, and tell me your name, for I will make you a gift in return for this magnificent wine. 3 times I filled the bowl, and he drained it empty. Then, when his wits were addled, I answered him. You asked my name, and I'll gladly tell it. I am called Nobody. Now, you said you had a gift for me? Your gift, Nobody, is that I will eat you last. Ha 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 ha. He thinks he's so funny. So then he passes out, and they've got the sharp stick that they're working on, and dun dun dun, they charge and go straight into the eyeball. Because remember, he's only got one. And Odysseus wants to make sure that he is well and truly blind. So he's like, deeper, twist. Like, he wants to make sure, like, the whole eyeball is really jacked up. So he's really working with his men to get this. And Polyphemus is screaming, no! I'll get you! And some of the other Cyclopes are kind of, like, peeking out. Because he's not the only Cyclops living there. Like, they're coming to check on him. Polyphemus, what's the matter? Is someone attacking you or trying to steal your sheep? Nobody's trying to kill me. Well then, if nobody's in there, you must be sick. There's nothing to be done about that except pray to your father Poseidon. No, idiots! Ah! Because, again, it makes him sound crazy because Odysseus said his name was Nobody. So he's trying to tell them, nobody's trying to kill me, nobody's trying to kill me, but he's trying to talk to them about Odysseus, but then they're like, well, if nobody's in there with you, then you must just be sick and you just need to pray about that. So Odysseus, now that he can't see, now that Polyphemus is totally blind, Odysseus waits for him to open up the cave door, but unfortunately he sits in front of it when he opens it up, and he says, okay, come on now, Nobody, try to escape. Now I cast about for a way to slip past him, and my eye fell on the great fleecy rams. I lashed them together in threes, with one of my men slung beneath. I saved the bulkiest of them all for myself, and digging my fingers into his thick wool, I swung beneath his belly and waited as young dawn's fingers touched the eastern sky. So this is how they used the sheep to disguise themselves. Was that they actually uh, kind of lassoed three sheep together so that there would be room underneath, and then held underneath the bottom. So I had that detail a little bit wrong. The animals were jostling and bleating to go out into their pasture, but Polyphemus carefully ran his hands over each one's back before he let it out. He couldn't feel my men, though, shielded as they were. So the sheep are like, we need out of here. People are hanging on to us, and we're tied together. And Polyphemus is like making sure nobody's like riding the sheep out, which they're not. They're underneath the belly, so he can't find them. Old friend, why are you last of all? You always lead the way. Is it because you grieve for my eye, put out by that accursed Nobody after he got me drunk? Oh, if only you had the power of speech and could tell me where he's hiding, I'd smash his brains out. So then they finally get out from under the sheep, and and then take the sheep with them onto the boat. Okay. So then Odysseus, because he can't resist, he's calling out as they're sailing away. All right? Cyclops, your victims have escaped, and the gods have paid you back for your crimes. And Polyphemus is so mad that now all of his sheep have been stolen. So he like grabs the giant rock and like yeets it, and it just misses the boat, like ploosh right there, like it just misses the boat, and they're like, this is just a single exclamation point, because they're like, ah. The splash raised a swell that drove our ship almost back to the shore. My men rowed furiously, keeping silent now until we were twice as far away. Then, ignoring their desperate pleas, I called back to the Cyclops again, because Odysseus cannot leave well enough alone. Cyclops, if anyone asks who put out your eye, tell him it was Odysseus of Ithaca. Oh no, the old prophecy has come true. I was told Odysseus would rob me of my sight, but I always expected some giant of a man, not a puny trickster like you. So he had the prophecy tell him up to this point. This is where life gets complicated. So, but I am Poseidon's son, and he will hear my prayer. Poseidon, earth shaker, god of the sable locks, dark brown hair. If I am indeed your son, grant me revenge on Odysseus of Ithaca. Let him never reach his home, or, if the other gods decree that he must, let him come late, after long suffering, with all his comrades dead, and let him find trouble waiting for him at home. So he prayed, and the god heard him. Then he seized another boulder, even bigger than before, and hurled it after us. But this time it landed behind our ship, and the wave pushed us swiftly forward until we came to the little island where our comrades were waiting. All right. So, we'll read book 10 next time. Okay. So, for our question this time, what was I eating? Hmm. Do you remember? All right. Answer the question. Get a bonus star. You know the drill.